Does the SuperBlast 2 hold up to the reputation of the original SuperBlast of cushion, comfort, response, energy return, and versatility? In this video, we'll look at what's new in the 2, who is the SuperBlast 2 for, and how to work the SuperBlast 2 into your training. So what's new in the 2? There's been a minimal weight increase and a minimal stack height decrease in the shoe, but to be honest with you, after knocking up over 800 Ks in the previous model, I can't tell a difference between the 2. The midsole on the SuperBlast 2 retains the FF Blast Turbo foam, which is the same foam that's used in the Metaspeed model carbon plated race shoe. What's different is this thin bottom layer that you see here underneath the FF Blast Turbo, which is the FF Blast Plus Eco, which just basically means it's more eco-friendly and leaves less of a carbon footprint. There has been a noticeable change in the outer sole or the grip on the ASICS SuperBlast 2 compared to the previous model, where we have a grippier grip. One of the complaints about the previous model was its grip in the wet or slippery conditions, and so I'm thinking that this was an obvious positive response from ASICS to those issues with the original SuperBlast. The outer sole has also been tweaked a little bit, where you'll see it hasn't got those little grit traps that the previous model used to have, that I experienced and people have complained about. There's little grit traps in here where rocks and pebbles and grit would get stuck in the shoe. There's been a change in the upper material as well, which is an engineered woven mesh, which ASICS claim is more breathable than the previous model. On the previous model, the upper had more of a kind of in-between race shoe and trainer kind of feel. I ran the notorious Sydney Marathon in 2023 in the mid-30s degrees Celsius, around 93 degrees Fahrenheit, and the shoe handled those heat and conditions fine. However, obviously, as runners, we always welcome better breathability in the upper of a shoe. Enough about the changes in the 2. Does the SuperBlast 2 hold up to the reputation of the original SuperBlast of cushion, comfort, response, energy return, and versatility? For me personally, it does have a lot to stand up to. I've done over 800 kilometers in the previous model, as you can probably tell by the condition of it, but that included training blocks and racing 2 road marathons, as well as a training block for a 50-kilometer ultra marathon. And I used it for a whole bunch of different training paces, efforts, and workouts over that time. Will the SuperBlast 2 be able to do the same? I put the shoe through a number of paces and efforts early out of the box in order to see or get a gauge for whether the SuperBlast 2 would hold up to the reputation and my experience of the original SuperBlast. I put it through 5-kilometer race pace, tempo, threshold efforts, even short hill sprints, long runs, and recovery runs. I've done everything in this shoe so far, other than pretty much race in the shoe. The harder I went in the shoe, the more responsive it was. I played around with different foot strikes in order to get different responses. My favorite thing about the original SuperBlast was that you could play around with your foot strike and your efforts and get an immediate response out of the shoe. You're still able to do that in the SuperBlast 2. The shoe works for you and with you. The forefoot and midfoot responses are just as good, if not better, than what they were in the original SuperBlast. With the subtle changes made to the SuperBlast 2, whilst maintaining that energy return, responsiveness, cushion, and comfort, SuperBlast 2 is king of trainers. Before we move on to who I think the SuperBlast 2 is for and how you can use the SuperBlast 2 in your training, if you want to learn more about running for recreational runners, things like training tips, workouts, tools, tips, and gear, then please hit that subscribe button. Who should get the SuperBlast 2 and how does it fit into your training? The SuperBlast 2 is a bit pricey compared to the NovaBlast 4, and to be honest, they can pretty much both do the same job. But if you really want to get serious about your training, this will really level you up from the NovaBlast 4. As an advocate for both the SuperBlast model and the NovaBlast model from ASICS, if you're serious about investing in your running training, the SuperBlast 2 is a shoo-in. The decision is an easy one. The FF Blast Turbo foam provides better cushion, better responsiveness, levels up from the NovaBlast 4. And not only can you train in the SuperBlast 2, you can actually race in the SuperBlast 2 as well if you don't want to go those carbon plated races on race day. How will I use the SuperBlast 2 in my shoe rotation? I use the SuperBlast 2 for pretty much anything over an hour or tempo threshold runs close to an hour. Really provides that leveled up kind of responsiveness and energy return, but it's also the cushioning and comfort in those workouts that I'm after. Otherwise, anything pretty much under an hour, I will use Nova Blast 4, which again is such a versatile trainer for those different types of workouts, but for targeted speed specific and VO2 max type interval workouts, I'll go to the carbon plates in the Metaspeed Edge model. Thank you for watching, and God bless.